Have you ever read something and just knew it was packed with layers of meaning? Well, in the Gospel of John, Jesus says something in just 2 short verses that reveals, well, pretty much everything about who he is and what he came to do. We're going to unpack that today. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with this promise Jesus makes about greater things. Then we'll dive into what that really means by looking at 3 huge ideas: Jesus as the revelation of God, Jesus as our living ladder, and finally, that title he used all the time, the Son of Man. Let's jump in. All right, first things first. What even prompted Jesus to say all this? Well, it all goes back to a conversation he had with a guy named Nathanael, and it starts with a pretty impressive moment. So Nathanael is just blown away. Jesus tells him, "Hey, I saw you under that fig tree," something he couldn't possibly have known naturally. And Nathanael is immediately convinced, "You are the Son of God." But Jesus' comeback is what's so fascinating. He's basically saying, "You're impressed by that? Oh, you just wait. You're going to see so much more." This little phrase, greater things, that's our key. It unlocks this whole thing. So you're probably wondering, what are these greater things? Is it just going to be bigger and better miracles? Nope. It's something much, much bigger. The greater thing is Jesus himself. He is the ultimate, final, complete revelation of God. And we're going to see how that works in 3 specific ways. Okay, first up, Jesus is the embodiment of revelation. And we have to pause here because this is a huge, huge claim. He's not just another prophet bringing a message from God. The point is, he is the message. He is God in the flesh walking among us. And you see this idea all over the New Testament, right? John's gospel starts off by calling Jesus the Word, who was with God and was God. And then you've got the Apostle Paul in Colossians, who just comes right out and says it. In Jesus, all the fullness of the Godhead lives in a body. It doesn't get much clearer than that. So if he's the embodiment of God, it makes perfect sense that he's also the perfect communicator of God, right? He's in the unique position to show us what God is really like, his character, his truth, his grace, in a way no one else ever could. And John 1:14 just nails this. The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. The divine became human. So if you wanted to know what God was like, all you had to do was look at Jesus. His life, his words, it was all one big direct communication from God to us. Okay, and finally, this revelation isn't just for our heads. It's not just some cool theological fact. Jesus is also the liberator of revelation. The truth he brings has real power. It's meant to do something, to set people free. And this is a key part of those greater things he promised Nathanael. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. He also said he came to give life, and life more abundantly. So the truth he reveals isn't passive, it's active. It changes things. It brings freedom and a richer, fuller life. All right, but Jesus doesn't stop there. After this big promise of greater things, he gives a really specific, kind of strange picture to explain what he means. And this is where it gets really interesting. He says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man." Whoa, heaven open? Angels going up and down? What in the world is he talking about? Well, to anyone listening back then, this would have been a huge light bulb moment. They would have instantly thought of the story of Jacob's ladder from Genesis. You know, the dream where Jacob sees a ladder connecting earth and heaven with angels on it. Jesus is basically taking that famous story and saying, that ladder, that connection point between God and humanity, yeah, that's me. And this idea of him being a living ladder is so powerful. Let's break down what it means. First, it means we can actually get to God through him. Second, it means he's the only way. There's no other ladder. And third, just like those angels going up and down, it means we can have this constant, open line of communication with God, all because of Jesus acting as our mediator. Okay, there's one more piece to this puzzle. Did you notice the title Jesus used for himself? Upon the Son of Man? This wasn't just some random name he picked. This was his favorite, most used title for himself, and it's packed with meaning. So let's dig into what it signifies. Now, when you hear Son of Man, you might just think, oh, that just means he's a human being. But it's so much more than that. It means he is what humanity is supposed to be. He's the ideal man, the perfect pattern, the representative for all of us, showing us what God intended from the very beginning. So this one title really captures 2 huge things about him.
First, he's the ideal man, the perfect picture of God's design for humanity. And second, he's the ideal servant, the perfect example of what it looks like to genuinely care for and serve other people.
And you can tell this was a big deal to him because it was, by far, his favorite way to refer to himself. He uses the title Son of Man something like 80 times in the Gospels. 80. That tells you just how central this idea of being the perfect human representative was to his identity and mission.
And we see that ideal servant idea played out perfectly in his own words, right? He says the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister. His whole purpose was to serve, not to be served, even giving his life for others.
But here's the fascinating flip side. This title isn't just about humility and service. It also carries incredible authority. It's because he is the perfect Son of Man, the ideal human, that he's also been given the authority to judge. His perfect humanity is actually what qualifies him for that awesome responsibility. So let's zoom out and put all the pieces together. In just 2 verses, Jesus gives us this stunning self-portrait. He is the full and final revelation of God. He is the mediator, that living ladder connecting us to heaven. And he is the Son of Man, the perfect representative for all of us. Revelation, mediator, and Son of Man. Wow. So when you see this complete picture painted by Jesus himself, it really makes you think, doesn't it? How does understanding him as the ideal man and our living ladder to God really change the way we see his purpose here on earth? It's definitely something to chew on.